Well, folks, welcome to another episode or edition of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. We have a real treat. So a lot of our guests come from suggestions or, hey, call this person, call that person. This young lady, all the way from, is it sunny Los Angeles, California right now? Is it nice out there?
Yes, it is. It's a gorgeous day, actually.
Fantastic. We have the awesome Tara Lynch. How we doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
You would guess by the backdrop there that she plays a little guitar.
I mean, I might dabble a bit.
Yeah. So I want to I want to hit you with something right out of the gate, because I took part in a podcast earlier this week about networking and networks. And when you read your story, you've got a network that is just absolutely unreal. And we'll get into that in a couple minutes. But I guess just talk to me about your network and how you built it and how you've met people since you've gotten involved in the business.
Well, I mean, that's easy. I moved to Los Angeles in 1989 and immediately got work in the entertainment industry. I was working at what used to be called the Movie Time Channel. It became the E Network. And I met a lot of people in the business there. And then you make friends, go to parties, and you just meet people. And that's literally just how it snowballed throughout my life.
So another big part of when we were having this chatting about networking, and people were talking about they're having a hard time networking. My thing to them was, well, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. You have a network. You have a dentist. You have a lawyer. You have a mailman or a mail person. Anybody that you basically interact with as part of your network. And then the second part, what it came down to, is asking your network to help you is what I guess the nervousness was. Have you ever had any issues with being able to ask your network to help you?
Never. No one has ever said no. I mean, I've just been.
That'd be a level, I'm guessing, to your level of professionalism and how you ask and what you bring to the table.
Well, that's the thing. It's about what you bring to the table. It's not, you can know everybody in the world, but if you don't have anything with substance, then they're just going to say, I'm booked, I'm too busy, I can't do it, whatever. I mean, you actually have to have something that they're willing to put their name on and stake their reputation on. And fortunately, I have that. So it was really very easy. And in fact, I'm not the kind of person, there's a lot of people in my personal life where I go that doesn't have to do with music that have no idea what I do. They have no clue. When they find out, they're like, what the what? You know what I mean? And if they find out by accident somehow. And because I'm not the type to wear it, on my sleeve, unless I'm on the stage.
Right.
But, I had a lot of these friends in the business before I decided to go professional. That's the thing. A lot of these people, well, all of them really, were my personal friends. Everyone on my record, for example, before I ever decided to do it professionally. And there were some years where they had no idea that I was even writing anything or doing anything, because I don't talk about what I'm doing. I talk about what I've done. So once I did it and wrote it, then I said, hey, guess what? I wrote a record. Would you be interested in having a listen? And if you like what you hear, do you want to perform on it? And that was it. Everybody said, yeah. Holy crap, what the hell? And then, we're kind of like flipped out, like, you've been hiding this. And I'm like, no, I just don't talk about it until it's finished.
That's a great approach. I mean, the last piece I'll ask you on networking, and it's only because these are questions that came up, and I thought, hey, you know what? When I looked at what you did, and it kind of went hand in glove with the conversation that I had. You've got a network. When you approach somebody, do you immediately expect to get something back, or you kind of do the pay it forward thing, like you meet them and, hey, at some point in time, it's not what about you can do for me, I'll do something for you. You know where I'm going with that? Like, how do you approach that?
Because that's the thing, this thing that you're calling networking, which I realize that's how it works for a lot of people, but for me, it was really, there's no mystery sauce here. I literally made friends. They happen to be in the music business. I happened to decide it was the right time in my life to finally put my talent to work. I decided to write a record. That's why I wrote it by myself, written by Tara Lynch, all words and music. Nobody collaborated, And and I decided to make the record. So it was literally just calling my friends and saying, "Hey, I've done this. You have any interest in listening to it, and do you want to be a part of it?" And it was like yes all around, and holy shit, like how did this, what the hell, like, like what, whoa. They knew I played an instrument, but they didn't know how many. They knew they didn't know I could write music. They didn't know my level of proficiency on my instruments. They didn't have, they couldn't believe it. They were as gobsmacked as anybody else who never saw me before that sees me live for the first time.
Well,
So,
and so you really, I mean,
kind
and
of
I didn't want to hammer it home, but you're what you're doing is basically taking an argument that everybody puts up. Oh, I don't have a network, or I don't have any friends, and basically you had some friends that were in the business, but you didn't draw on them until you're ready to go.
exactly. They had no idea. I'll never forget, my friend Tony McAlpine, who played keyboards on my record. And I'll never forget when Tony first heard Exit the Warrior, which is one of the songs he plays on his keys. And it's got a beautiful solo in that song. And he was just like, "This is amazing. This is incredible." He was just absolutely blown away. He was just awestruck. Like, that's, and I've known Tony personally for so many years. Let me tell you, that's very hard to do, to such a virtuoso level musician as Tony is damn near impossible to impress the hell out of him. But man, was he just blown away by it.
Well, that's fantastic. And so you said you've been out there since '89, and you moved from where?
Florida, South Florida. I was there for the middle section of my growing up years. So I grew up, born and raised in New York, and lived there until about the age of 9, going on 10, and then moved to with my family to South Florida and lived there for the next 9 years, and then left, and I've never looked back. So high school and middle school were in Florida, and I had a lot of friends there that were musicians. Some of them actually put out records, like the guys in Saigon Kick, for example, and people like that. you know um, I've just always sort of been around it, and I always played when I was a kid, but I didn't do anything professionally until my kids were college age, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to be an absent mother. So,
So you know what? That's interesting. So I work with a few people that have children, and they kind of feel the same way. And I get everything from, geez, I really miss, or I feel like I missed something, to I didn't at all, and now actually the best years are ahead of me. What's your thought there?
um, it's funny. I was just having this conversation with a family member of mine over Thanksgiving about, and some friends actually that I met up with. We went to Florida to see the family and some friends from my school days. And, we were talking about all these people and what they've done with their lives and stuff like that. It was just very interesting conversation. And, I feel like it's very common that people feel like, their high school days were their good old days, or whatever the case is. I got to tell you, my life has only been uphill. I don't, it's been fine. I don't have any regrets or complaints. I did not enjoy my time in Florida, though I was surrounded by a beautiful bunch of friends and a great lifestyle, and having loads of fun and going to tons of concerts and having a great, teenage existence. But those were not the good old days. I mean, the best days of my life is every day as it is, the whole way, because I don't go backwards and I don't live in the past. I mean, I'm always moving forward and I'm always doing new things. So I literally made a defined choice to get my life together, get a career together, be financially set, have children, raise them before, because I've been playing guitar since I was 10 years old, or 11, 10 or 10, 11, something like that. And I, never had any desire to do it professionally until it occurred to me my kids were going to go off to college and they don't need me like all day, every day anymore. Right. And I found myself just being in the studio more, creating more, and just, which I've been doing all along, but on a more grand level. And it felt like it was time. So I didn't miss anything. I wouldn't have missed anything. And this is, obviously putting out my first record in 2018 was late getting started in terms of, how old somebody is when they usually go into this business. But I think my talent speaks for itself. My writing speaks for itself, and it doesn't matter. And clearly it doesn't matter. I just got off a tour in Europe that was fantastic. A lot of fans showed up.
Well, and your swagger, young lady, speaks for herself, because I'm getting a confidence without a cockiness, which is, you get around people who, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk, if you know what I mean. They come across like they're this amazing guitar player, bass player, drummer, or whatever, and then you hear them and it's kind of like, clearly they've got an overinflated self-worth. But I've listened to your tunes. I when Greg passed your info along, I took a listen, and I guess the first thing that I wanted to ask you about them was, it's kind of has that throwback to the old Shrapnel, Tony McAlpine, and Pelletieri, that whole thing. But you're singing on it at a high level. But the first question I had, were you a singer first, and then how did that work out?
I was always a guitar player first before I ever opened my mouth. In fact, I wasn't even going to sing on my record. So because I write everything by myself in my studio, I've got that little, the Logic systems. I'm so like technologically screwed, but I know how to get my stuff into the Logic system. I know how to make tracks.
Sure.
And play it in and record. I got my drums over here. I record everything in, and I come up with a full demo. And so I sing on my own demos the vocal that I want to hear on the record. And when I first started recording, I called my friend Mark Bowles to come in and sing Trustless and Evil Enough. I was going to have him do more, or maybe even get another guest vocalist or something. And I showed up to the studio to record with Phil Soussan and Vinny Appice one day, and my producer Brent Woods was there as well. Brent had been telling me all along, you should sing on your record, and I said, no, I sound like, a frog. I wasn't a big fan of my own voice. We look at ourselves and listen differently, and also I felt like my music is more tailored for a male voice, but I sang on the demos, and Vinny, I'll never forget, I drove up in my car, and I get out of the car and I'm heading toward the door. He flings the door open. He goes, give me one reason why you're not singing on your own record. That's you on the demo. That's you. You have to do it. And I was like, oh, what? And I thought Brent was punking me. And Phil comes out and he's like, Tara, what is this? And they gave me hell all day about it. Like, they wouldn't let up. And by the end of the day, I realized they weren't punking me. They were dead. They then started making business sense to me, and, basically explained to me why it was important to do that. And I said, fine, I'll record Banish from My Kingdom. And if I like the vocal and I like the way it sounds when it comes out, then I'll go ahead and do the rest. So I did that. And I said, wow, this doesn't suck. It's actually pretty good. Okay, fine, done. So I recorded, Cringeworthy, Antidote, the rest of them with the vocals. And I left Mark's tracks on there because why the hell would anybody take that off?
Yeah.
Perfect. And when I wrote those songs, those two in particular, his voice was in my head. I knew I was going to ask him to do it. And I would have waited till the end of time until he could schedule it. And he would. So I was like, definitely going to have him do that. So I left it on there and I recorded the rest, myself. But here's the funny part, because you're asking, which did you do first, right? Well, as you know, when you record your vocals separately from the guitar. You can't do them both together. One's going to bleed through the microphone and, blah, 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 blah. It then occurred to me, holy shit, now I have to learn how to sing these songs and play all these leads at the same time.
Right.
So I was like, crap. Okay. So I locked myself in this room for hours and hours every day until I made it make sense in my brain and got it done. And well, here I am. So, you know, no, I never was going to sing, but now I'm stuck singing.
Well, you know what? And I think that's a perfect segue into segment 2, because you immediately put a question in my head there that I want to get when we come back on the other side. You good?
Yeah.